Can you play with the...
There you go.
Yeah, but I think it was really high and narrow. Can you make it wider? Oh, you did from last time. Thank you. Okay. Is that okay? We're on class 8. Is that right?
Yeah.
So before we start these classes, I always invite you, please, hi Peter, to reconsider who you are. Yeah, we have this mode of being, this identity we carry with us, and it actually is carrying us. It's dragging us along, and it's our habits of thinking and being in a certain way. And everyone in this room has the opportunity to become an enlightened being for real. I don't want to mince words. You don't have to have the experience you're having. You're fortunate to have the experience you're having, but that's not all there is. There's way more, and it's here. It's not out there. So I invite you, why not spend the next 2 hours, just try to see if that thing you think is you can be a bit bigger, a bit wider, a bit kinder, way more wise, happier, all-encompassing. If you practice it here, you know what to step into next time. So to do that, we start by bribing our idea of a teacher. And so we offer a mandala, our vision of a perfect universe, which includes beings in it and a place. So don't worry about the funny hand gesture. This is just a cultural thing. The essence is in your mind thinking, can the world be a perfect being, a perfect place? Every being without mental afflictions, completely awake. It's possible. Can you imagine it? And then you offer that up to your idea of a teacher. So.
Sashi
Bukir Jishin Metotram Rirav Minshin Yindegam Padi Sange Shindu Miteguargi Rodun Nanda Shinla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami
Sange
Idam Zogi Joknama Janju Bardu Dakni Gyatsuchi Daki Jinyengi Pesonam Ki Drola Benchir Sange Druparsho
Sange
Chidam Sogi Joknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Daki Jinyengi Pesonam Ki Drola Benchir Sange Druparsho
Sange
Chidam Sogi Joknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Daki Jinyengi Pesonam Ki Drola Benchir Sange Druparsho. let's get settled into the new mindset. Let's do a short meditation. So take a comfortably seated position. Have a drink of warm bubble tea, which is weird. Thank you, Yuki. And just settle into your posture and consider all the other people in the room whose minds are about to enter a place of stillness. So help them by making sure you park your body perfectly. Release any tension after you do a body scan. Nice. Just make sure your spine is straight, shoulders relaxed, and your face relaxed. A tiny smile on your eyes, your tummy slightly tucked in, just tiny. Make a decision to withdraw, to let the body be, and gently bring your mind's attention to the breath, just the sensation of the breath entering and exiting your nostrils, and follow it. Not control it, just follow it. That's all we need to do. Over the next few exhales, imagine your surroundings completely transformed until you find yourself, just you, in your perfect setting for meditation. It can be in this world, it can be an imaginary place, it can be a different time, but it's just you with completely supportive surroundings for meditation. Find your perfect spot. Just transform with your breath. Let your mind imagine the details of this place. Temperature, scent, light, sensations, until you're perfectly at rest there. And now I invite you to imagine that something in your mind has changed, and you can see things that you couldn't see before. The very first thing you see is a perfect being seated in front of you, facing you, meditation posture just like you. And that being is just your perfect match, your perfect teacher. Imagine them manifest because something in your mind transformed and you can now see aspects of this world that you couldn't see before. Bring your attention to their eyes, their gaze upon you, and feel complete wisdom and love towards you, unconditional. It is the safest, most vulnerable experience you can have. If they are the perfect teacher for you, imagine their highest quality, the thing you would admire the most in them, and feel a kind of reverence in your heart for being in front of them, for seeing them. And out of a feeling of gratitude, allow your mind to create a perfect offering for them. It can be anything around them. It could be a scent. It could be petals falling from the sky. It could be a memory of a sunset or a teardrop. Offer it to them and watch them accept it with joy in their heart and love. Now turn your attention to your own mind, any state of mind that blocks you from genuine happiness, anything on your conscience that bothers you, any afflicted states of mind, and show them to your teacher with the wish to purify them and remove them permanently. You can do this by looking at the last time you got angry, for example, and feel a sense of regret that you must experience the consequences of that action in you. But in showing them and feeling a kind of regret, you wish to not have that state anymore, sort of proclaim that towards them and feel a sense of release from that force inside of you. Imagine you stop having that impulse in your mind completely. feeling your mind lighter, turn your attention to some good quality inside of you that you currently possess, some goodness, some kindness that you've done towards others. And share this with that teacher with a mind full of joy for that capacity you have. Imagine it growing, serving as many beings as you can, bringing you real happiness. Now return your gaze to their eyes. So you can look inside their mind, their heart, and feel in your body what it's like to be loved unconditionally for all time. What would that feel like? Any lesson you ever need available to you. So ask them to always teach you, regardless what happens in the world, that you may hear their teaching inside of you. And ask them to always stay close. Genuinely ask them from your heart to always stay, never leave. As you ask them that, imagine them begin to rise up and shrink and turn to face the same direction you're facing until they are resting at the crown of your head, the size of a thumbnail, brilliant with the power of love and wisdom specific to you. See if you can have a physical sensation of them resting at the crown just before touching. Inside of them, every answer you ever need. And now feel them get smaller and descend down the crown of your head in front of the spine at your neck to the level of the heart, and find a perfect home for them there, brilliant and bright. Their entire essence inside your heart, whispering answers in your way to enlightenment. Always available. Gradually bring your attention to your body in this room. Dissolve the other world. Take a deep inhale when you're ready, and naturally let it go. What a pleasure to do that together. When I first learned meditation, I was really shy about saying any of that stuff. But now that I'm close to death, I don't mind. It feels sort of cop out, but I pretended I was doing this secret thing in my 20s and 30s. Now it's like, screw it. You all need to get aligned quick before you die. Thank you for doing that. That felt really nice. Yeah. So we have a couple of special guests in the room. The first one is me. Thank you very much. Yeah. I want to do a shout out to Mr. Do. Everybody say hi to Mr. Do. He just flew from China. It is thanks to Mr. Do that I get to do the children's program, that we get to have a presence in China. It is through his kindness that we get to pay rent some of the time. And it's also thanks to Mr. Do and Yuki and all our other friends in China that I got to overcome our Western prejudice about cultural differences. They have shown me and everybody that travels to China the incredible humanity that exists over there that we don't know here. So I'm grateful for building bridges. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You should get to know him, but you have to speak Chinese. And drink really bad bubble tea. I'd also like you all to say hi to Ming, also from China. No. I don't know if you all know how amazing Ming is. The virtual walkthrough for the new location was done by him, by donation, through some weird vision and capacity he's got to do stuff like that, and then this thing appears. Thank you, Ming, for being part of this group. Thank you. Yeah. And then I'd like to introduce you to Stephen, this guy over here. Who goes to bed at like 2 in the morning so we can have a center.
So we can watch Game of Thrones.
So we can watch Game of Thrones and, and then have a center. And so many other people in this room, Rachel and Sarah and Hannibal, Jacqueline, Anthony, who work tirelessly to keep this place open. It's crunch time for moving the 3 jewels out of this place to the new location. And it's only done by volunteers and your kindness, and we're going to do it. Like I didn't think it was possible if you asked me 2 weeks ago, but all of a sudden we're able to do it, both mentally and in reality. And it's through your kindness, both all of you who donate, all of you who turn up, all of you who work your asses off to create a space for people just to pop in and have experiences of themselves that are better than the everyday experiences, and get to access that on a regular basis enough for them to say, I can put that on when the world goes well and when the world doesn't go well. And it gives you power. It gives you back your power. So really, I just want to say thank you to all of you. And actually, I'll embarrass you. Hi, Maggie.
Hi.
Everybody. That's Maggie in the corner. That's Maggie in the corner. That's Maggie in the spotlight. Maggie just moved here from Savannah. Yeah, and she's currently in a job interview. She's applying to be the barista at the new location. She's also a yoga teacher, so get to know her. Yeah, say hi to Maggie. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for a warm welcome.
Yeah.
Space to build this energy.
And Courtney? You thought you were getting away. Yeah, everybody say hi to Courtney. We only know Anthony because of her, because she gets to teach this thing. You're a yoga teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to teach these things through the veil of yoga, and it's turned people onto a reality within themselves that is available all the time, but for some stupid reason the rest of the world doesn't know about it. Yeah. So thank you for keeping the fires burning, and look at what you manifested. Yeah. Could you change it a little next time? Thank you. So this is the part of the evening before class starts in 15 minutes, where you all get to teach each other what I taught last time by doing a quiz. Yeah, so we're going to have 5 groups because there's a few people. Anthony, you take this corner. Jacqueline, you take that corner. Hannibal and Ming, you take that corner, the middle corner. Sarah, you take that corner with Maggie, and Rachel, you take that corner. And you guys get to pick whoever you want to hang around with. No, you get to your corners. Go through the questions quick. It's double-sided, so there's a lot. And I'll see you in 15 minutes. There might be answers on the wall. If you weren't here last week, let me know, and I will put a person in there who was. Okay? Do you need someone else here? Or you got
Oh yeah. Come on in. Yeah, you can.
Sorry, I'll throw a question out there while we do the logic which is the name, which is the same as the word for correct or valid. I remember. What is the Sanskrit?
good on ya.
And what's the Tibetan name?
The Sanskrit is the name for the Buddhist study of modern which is the same as the correct
What is the Buddhist definition of Jesus?
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, that's a good question. What is how do you define a valid perception? Start it with fresh. Yeah. State of mind. Yeah. Awareness. Yeah.
It's anything that is perceived by adults.
Yeah.
What did the Buddha himself say is the purpose of Buddhist logic?
Do you have a cheat sheet in that corner? Do you need one? You got it?
Purpose of Buddhist logic.
Oh.
What did the Buddhist result say? The purpose of Buddhism?
It's like if you just
Exactly.
your map of your
Pretty famous statement.
What is the Buddhist definition of existence? And the Buddhist definition of existence.
you have it.
Someone like myself can judge a person, but no normal person should judge another. Only in enlightened relationships.
That's only.
I'll read it again. I, for someone like myself,
Do you guys remember one about reality, but I would assume that,
no normal.
So, but that is
Because he says false.
So I guess
Understand, open up, open up.
Didn't hear the full question.
Direct,
Yeah,
So Anthony and your team, it's good that you asked that question. I put it in red below the answer up there, because that statement implies that you are able to see without direct perception. There are things you cannot see directly with your senses right now that exist, like the street outside. Remember last week? Yeah. So by that quote from the Buddha, he's saying you guys can't see all of reality. You idiots! Don't judge others because you'll create more suffering for yourself. You idiots! I'm sure he doesn't say idiot, but you get the essence, right? He's saying just someone that's reached the state of mind where you see all things because that's what enters directly, because I've got emotions. That one, then I can look into your mind and say, she's being a bitch. Yes, so stop being a bitch. I, as a Buddha, can do that. But if you're not Buddha, you got no idea whether she was pretending to be bitchy or could appear to be bitchy and in fact was doing something to wake you up. So there are things that we don't see with our current limitation that only me or someone like me can see. So that's why that phrase is quoted, the Lord Buddha's statement is quoted, but the implication is you're able to, through logic and reasoning, you'll be able to see things that you can't see with your senses. Like, remember the example of dropping the thing, like that, but other things, like past and future lives, the fact of emptiness, the fact of other realms existing. That you can see first with logic and later have an experience. But first you have to logically get there. That's an important thing. So you're right, it's just a quote, but what's the quote mean? You know?
Buddha must have had
Understand the source of the Buddhist logic, but you have to otherwise you don't get it.
No, you can get it logically.
I get it logically.
Huh?
I get it logically.
Yeah, and then you habituate that logically until it becomes uncontrolled and becomes your reality. That's practice. That's why it's called practice, because you're putting it on all the time and it's against our natural sense of seeing. Because that is not, this is not this way. You need logic, reasoning to go, oh, hold on, it's not that way. It's not that way. It's a different way. And once you do that enough, you will get a little window, a little peek into what it really is. Or you get that about compassion, you get that about emptiness, wisdom. You get that about logically tonight. past and future lives. But the quote is implying that only an enlightened being, a being who's evolved their mind to such a state, can see things that we cannot see. So with logic, the purpose of logic is to see those things we cannot see.
Could you also say that purpose of logic is to prove the truth in everything?
Yeah, and the thing in red I put there was prove that there are other realms that we're not, that our way of experiencing the world isn't the world, it's just our own realm. Animal realms exist, then could there be hungry ghosts, could there be holograms, or whatever you call them? Could there be other ways of being, a mind? Logically, you can get there. Yeah. First, you have to go through the veil of our own cultural brainwashing.
That's
a valid perception. Really trust someone, they'll say,
And the other part of the level
really valid perception. Everything else is mistaken because it's lost by everything around. So I'm making a parallel
Yeah, it's like jet lag.
Yeah, I think one of
But likely we did it.
I think. No, I didn't write it down. I remember. I remember it. It's also but also
Extra questions?
Yep.
So for the two different types of valid perception, direct and we call it indirect. So when we're starting with the levels of reality, all that.
Oh, was that a question?
Yeah, the second part was
Nungyer, Cochlear, and Shinju Cochlear. Remember those? Obvious reality stuff. That's an experience I have directly. Cochlear is hidden. Awesome. Everybody's name?
Yep.
Cochlear is hidden, that logic. And Shinju Cochlear is very hidden, that your logic won't reach because you rely on an enlightened being, an omniscient being. Someone like, the example was, you go to a specialist in cancer, if you get cancer, because they know stuff, you got no idea, you just trust them. You don't know. Logically, that maybe that works. You know best.
I tried briefly the ground rule for interpreting the Buddha, that is, if deciding that something was going through this set, it's meant to figuratively and not.
I just pretty much
Or is there?
What would you think?
But then you still have to distinguish. So that's why I'm Sangika. Is the way to describe what reality is. And you're saying this because you're being figurative to teach us, but you're also teaching us.
Yeah, I can put it in this.
I heard you taught good yoga the other day. I heard you taught a really good yoga class. Yeah, Alison, you did. It must have been good, or she had really low expectations. That's probably what it was. 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes.
Our group is done.
Huh? I know, your group kicked ass. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo se siente el 45? Tell me about it. Who else had a birthday around your time?
You have to know all things.
Someone else had a birthday.
I know, I right. Oh. Oh, I had the same objection that I did last class. Maybe there's
You guys finished or you still got?
So what's the difference? You don't get ambitious.
Alan, you done? Your group, I mean? Really? Go, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Everybody's name on it in a legible way. Sarah, can you give that to Raquel? We have an hour. Yeah, 1 hour to prove. So we have an hour to prove to a bunch of brainwashed Westerners, me included, that the cultural beliefs we have about what happens when we die, there are assumptions around it, are probably broken. So I propose that I'm going to share the highlights of what I know, and that you then, do you remember the 3 qualities of a good student? Let's see if it, now that Emily walked in, yeah, the 3 qualities of a good student is not being late. I love you. Something with the pot. Come on.
They smoke pot.
Come on, Janina, you can do it. Bless you. You're welcome to look it up, Paul, if you need to.
You wanna do it? Do it.
Leaky pot means
They can't retain.
you can't retain. Yeah, good. You're all leaky pots.
But that's not a good student.
That's not the thing.
Yeah.
That's not a good student.
I think it's that they have like a high.
Good. Let him finish the pot.
Oh, sorry, but the pot's not the thing, but okay.
No, good.
Because he asked what's the qualities of a good student.
Yeah, they came up to.
Not be the one, not.
No, that's the 3 problems of a pot. And then the 3 qualities of a student.
They have an open mind.
Open mind, they have
high
spiritual,
like aspirations.
good, meaning they want to use this stuff for bigger reasons than just me. Yeah,
And then I don't know.
Pronunciation.
Put the hard work in or something.
something like that, right? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, okay, we should figure that out.
Karma Nantin.
Okay.
All of us.
One of them is you have an open enough mind to consider other possibilities. You have like a scientific mind to want to investigate, which means you have to know your own limitations. Yeah. So I propose we come into this room in the Western culture, not thinking correctly about past and future lives. We have this weird idea about it. My silly idea was that my soul went out and reincarnation meant it went into the dog's butt and then I'm a dog. Yeah? And now I keep using that, but I mean, that visual sort of was really what I thought. Yeah, and does that stand reason and logic? We get to think about that. Willing to strive.
Unbiased, intelligent, and willing to strive.
Nice, cool.
Straight.
So I'm running through. Please be open to considering what happens to you when you die. I'll give you the short and skinny, and then we can reference everything in relation to that. Okay, the short and skinny is, we Buddhists would not say that there is such a thing as a soul that is separate to mind and body. Okay, that there is another third option between your mind and your body, this thing called soul. Let go, that's weird. You don't need an extra thing to continue. The skinny is, mind and body are completely different stuff. That's the bottom line. And the stuff of body will continue. Every atom in your body right now, that wasn't there 2 years ago, by the way, will become something else, will become somebody else's eyeball, a worm's food. It will become something else. Every atom in your body, every physical stuff in you is recycled from someone else. You're probably breathing Jesus's air, breath. Seriously, every physical stuff we have wasn't you 2 years ago, and yet here you are. The same applies to your mind, and that's where we get lost in the West. We think somehow the mind is the brain. Yeah. So the skinny is the mind, awareness, consciousness, knowing, this thing that feels, that remembers. The thing is not the body. If you close your eyes, actually you don't even need to close your eyes. You can visit your mother when you were 5, if you have a memory of it. Right now, you can have that emotion. That's your mind. Yeah? You can go into the fridge in your house and see how dirty it is. Right now. Your house is empty and dirty. That's your mind. You can remember your heartbreak. That's your mind. And the mind and the body in higher practices are linked, but they are not the same stuff. That's the essence of it. And just like this came from millennia before you, and it's now this form, so is your mind. The mind is of the same stuff. It's a continuum. It's a stream of changing stuff. That is your awareness with all the crap and goodness you've put into it through your actions and intentions. That's the skinny. Yeah, and so we're studying Master Dignaga's book on logic and reasoning, and Master Dharmakirti, is it Dharmakirti? I can't remember. Yeah, he's defending Master Dignaga's work against a bunch of people in India at the time who were knocking his work on logic and perception. And there, Geshe Michael found the proof of future lives, which is not done in the East, because they don't need to. They have the same prejudice we have about what we think happens after you die. They have it in their culture. Of course you continue and you have a future life and you can, that's a given. So to find it was rare in the 90s, and it's in this text on logic and perception. Why? Because they used logic and perception to prove the causality of mind. Yeah? So here's the skinny. Tell me what your body was before this. Can you tell me what it was last week? Yes. Can you tell me what it was a year ago? Yes. Can you tell me what your body was like when you were 5? Yes. Yeah? You can. What about when it was 2? What about when it was 6 months old? What about when it was a fetus? You can imagine it, right? The cells. Can you imagine that body beginning in the womb of your mum? Sperm and egg begins to multiply, cell, 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 and then you're this creature. Yeah? No problem there. We believe that. Where did the cells come from? Sperm, dad's parts, egg, mum's parts. But where did those cells come from? Stuff in their physical stuff. Make sense? Same for the mind. Your moment of consciousness right now, the collection of who you are, where you feel about things, where you think about things, roughly came from what you were before. The stuff you put in your mind at school taught you language and words and so on, and it now manifests into you understanding your world. Your mind is the production of what was in your mind before. Make sense? And all the crap you put into your mind in high school, that was the crap that you used in college. Yeah? And same with the emotions and ideas about relationships and work and blah, blah, blah. Those assumptions, those mind moments were the mind moments that produced the next ones and the next ones. We're okay with that? And before that, the stuff you put in your mind when you were 10, and before that, when you were 5, and before that, the awarenesses of you when you were 1, and before that, the moments of mind when you were a baby emerging from the womb. You had sensation of cold and warm and touch, and those mind moments came from before and before. Now you can come to the moment where at whatever point that mind was in those 2 cells or 4 cells or whatever cells, at whatever point that happened, you have to say there was a moment of mind before. You have to. And if you can prove to yourself that, which you have to go and investigate and play and meditate on, if you can say the first instance of consciousness, when the mind of this body was connected, if that came already loaded with some stuff, just like a 1-year-old is drawn to music and another one is not. The mind is in favor of music and the other one is not. Even twins have this difference of approach. Their minds are different. You can say if there was a moment, the first moment of sensation when it was a being connected to this body, and you can prove to yourself logically that there must have been a moment before, you are entering the Eastern way of looking at mind, which means if you can prove that one moment, you have to run back that previous life all the way to the beginning of that life. And then what happens at the beginning of that life? There is no end. And there is infinity for you. There is infinity. Universe is infinite. Mind is infinite. There is no beginning. That's hard for our prejudice. We want to know, but when did it start? Chicken and the egg. And I remember when I was learning this here in the 90s, the Big Bang Theory was all the rage. There was a Big Bang, boom, created the universe. And we believed it, and it took us a little while to go, hold on, what about before the Big Bang? there was this other universe, and before that, and then they said, oh, a second Big Bang before that Big Bang. And we're like, oh, good, there were two. They started in the second one. And then you can't stop. Yeah, we just need a finite beginning. So that's the skinny of it. If you can prove to yourself that there was a moment that produced the first moment of consciousness in this life, your Western view is screwed. Yeah, because then you have to go to infinity, and you've touched infinity. Now, if you've proved that, past lives, you naturally prove future lives. So when this thing ends, when the separation of mind and body ends, this thing and all the stuff you filled it with must produce a result equal to or similar to its cause, which is all the stuff you're putting in it right now. Then in your mind, no beginning and no end. And if that's true, so you have to investigate it, but if that's true, then we're stuck in that cycle of samsara for infinity, not just, oh, I'll just live this life, screw it up a little, die, I'm good. No. Forever. You are at the whim of your previous actions. And so this should give you a search for higher purpose, for a causality that frees you from the cycles of this kind of existence, because this kind of existence, it's good until it's not. Sorry to say so, but sadly it's true. Bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. So that's the idea, roughly, okay? Now I'm going to go and give you all the scriptural blah, 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 so you can start putting stuff in there. The conversation came because in Dignaga's text, they talked about omniscient beings. Remember the discussion between an all-powerful God and an all-knowing God, yeah? A being that knew everything versus a God or a being that had control of everything. And there was this refutation that there could never be a creature, a being that was all-powerful, could do anything they wanted, creator of everything, and all compassionate, all loving. So there was this discussion that you can't have those three qualities and have this world coming from them. Impossible, logically, because either they are not able to stop cancer and raping children, or they can't do it, or they choose not to do it. Because if they're all powerful, they should be able to stop it. If they are not all powerful, that's okay. That's a different story. But if they're all powerful and all loving, then what? They're just sadistic to the baby who didn't do anything. So that, impossible, creator of this realm.
Can you do that? No.
Huh?
I'll turn it up right here.
Okay. Is it? What's wrong with it?
No, it can just be brighter.
Is a realm like this world, or what is the?
Yeah, a realm. It's a realm, right? You asked what's a realm?
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, a realm is a collection of projections that are the same from the Prasangika perspective, okay? We as humans have a forced experience of this room that is similar, and that's our realm. It's not like there's an acme little corner of the universe called the humans live there. And under the ground, there's the hell beings who are crawling out of and they live there. It's not that. It's the projections we share because we have the same causality to see and experience reality in a similar way. You put in a bunch of kittens in here, like last time, 1,000 kittens, 1,001 kittens.
I love it.
And their projection of this room is radically different to ours.
Same realm, different realm. It's
a different realm. It's an animal realm. They don't see this in the way we see it. They don't experience it the way their senses are altered to ours. And so they are experiencing this world in a completely different way. You fill it with 1,000 bats. It's also an animal realm. It's limited to their way of experiencing. That's a realm, really. But you can think of it as this little box where humans are over here, like in their hungry ghosts are over there, devas and asuras are over there. Yeah, but a realm, we should start thinking about it is like the projections we're forced to have collectively because we share the same causality. Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, that we share the same causality, and how did that?
Yeah, we just did similar things, therefore experienced similar things. Yeah, she was kind, you are together experiencing a kindness. Yeah, you can have subhuman realms, you know, you're in a war zone. Sorry, you're living the experience of something in your mind collectively.
Just the realm is caused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no like outside of you realm in the Prasangika perspective. So back to the story. The story is in Dignaga's work. There was this discussion about an omnipotent and an omniscient being. So we disproved omnipotent being because if there was, they're sadistic or not or loving or not all powerful. One of those qualities don't work and produce this wealth. Oh, mind blowing for me when I heard that in the 90s. It hurt to admit that. I was also frightened that Jesus was going to come and hit me in the head or something. Yeah. Honestly, I was. And then Master Dignaga's work begins with those lines. I bow down to the one who turned correct, meaning the one of pramana, yeah, of valid perception, helps all beings, has this thing called Mahakaruna, great compassion, yeah. He's a teacher, meaning they know that to get you, to teach you how to get out of suffering. Went to bliss, meaning they've experienced bliss and got out of suffering. And they're the protector. They know what they want to protect and they know what to take up and what to give up. I think that's the summary. Is that right? So here, those words are coded. And tonight's class, the proof of future life, began because someone said, hold on, can you have an omniscient being? Remember the Charvikas? It was this group that was refuting the Master Dignagas. It says, can a being really be omniscient, know all things? Is that possible? And can they love everyone? Is that possible? And they said, yeah. What would that take? And then the text, or Master Dignaga, and therefore Master Dharmakirti, said it would take eons, lifetimes to get this kind of mind to be in a state that is in complete Mahakaruna, wants to help all beings naturally, not just themselves. For a mind like yours to naturally turn and say, I love you as much as I love me. I want your happiness equal to my happiness. In fact, I should want yours and yours and yours and yours and yours and yours more than mine because you're way more than me. Yeah? So for a mind to go there would take so long. How long? Eons. Yeah? And so then the Charvakas who said, we don't believe in that future life stuff. That's crap. Yeah, that's really in the text. Only kidding. That's not in the text. So then the discussion was the evolution to great compassion would take multiple lives. And I want to give you 3 kinds of compassion. Yeah, you have regular compassion, which is just the wish to not have people hurt. Like you want to, oh, I don't want you to hurt. You know, we have like snippets of this every now and then. This is Ninja. It's like Lord of Heart. Ninja in Tibetan. J is Lord. Nin is heart or mind. Ninja. Or Karuna in Sanskrit. So that's one type of compassion. Yeah. That's rare to have. Walk around and see suffering beings, the homeless on the street, people getting up early to go to work and want them not to suffer. That's hard to do on this planet. That would take some practice. That would take some effort, right?
Just quick, this word is referring to the constant state of having that experience.
Okay. Yeah, rare, right? Like walking around Manhattan and having that experience all the time. Really rare. Very rare. Rarer still is Mahakaruna, great compassion, the one that was described in the opening of Dignaga's text. Yeah, that compassion is really bodhicitta. It's like the wish to personally be responsible to free everybody from suffering. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm so sorry that you missed a leg. then I'm going to do everything to grow your leg back. Yeah, it's probably not a good example, Hector. I know. I should use a different example next time.
Well, like, what about those random examples, like, I haven't heard about them lately, but you hear about these people who like donate organs just because this child needs something and they're not even willing it.
Yeah. I would include that. Actually, I can't say because I'm not a Buddhist, so I can't judge. So I would say that would be compassion. Great compassion. To have that constantly in your heart, that would be bodhicitta, real bodhicitta. Yeah, the second of the three principal paths, where you, if nobody else on the planet was going to do anything, you decide you're responsible to free planet Earth from the causes of suffering, which is not in the stuff, it's not in the organs you transplant, it's in the state of mind that needs to be transformed. Yeah? So you become, it's my job. I don't care if it takes me this lifetime and 10,000 more, I will do it. This is Mahakaruna. That's extremely rare. Like so rare you'd have a being like that every couple of thousand years maybe on this planet. Yeah? Maybe. Very, very rare. So of course the Charvik is going, you guys are full of crap. That can only happen if you had more than one lifetime to live. And we don't think that you do, right? It sounds very similar to the West. And then I want to give you holy great compassion, or Tukje Chempo. And this is the compassion of an enlightened being, or a being in the direct perception of emptiness, if you will, right? The compassion meaning that it's uncontrived, that it's the result, that it's the habituated projection of all the moments of the previous compassion you've put in your mind. Yeah, so a Buddha doesn't sit there and decide, and I say Buddha in the literal sense of the word, an enlightened being, a being who's woke because they caused that. Yeah, we call them Buddha. It's not like the dude or the dudess. It's a being like you who has a natural response to suffering, and that is, I'm doing everything I can to project multiple bodies in all universes in every possible way that you could hear if you got the karma to hear it. And I'm there all the time, even if it takes you 10,000 years. I will be in front of Emily, and Emily at some point will hear my call. Yeah? And that is the third type of compassion, holy great compassion. So they're the three divisions of compassion, right? And it would take multiple lifetimes to get this mind that you've got right now to have that as an uncontrived state. Would you agree? Yeah, it'd be difficult to do it in one lifetime. Would you agree? Yeah? The proof of that is, if I grabbed 10 of you and stood you on the edge of the white cliffs of Dover, looking down at the ocean, and I went to push you, which of you would go to save somebody else before recording for yourself first? You see what I mean? We would take care of ourselves first. A being of great compassion might not do that.
It's not a condition to our culture, like you're saying. Like the original impulse will be to save that person, but we are conditioned now more than ever to say, first your mask and then the mask of the child. But the mother will say, no, my child first. But we are conditioned to follow that instruction.
Who conditions you?
I think now it's only more culture. Who conditioned it?
Yeah, who creates the culture? You see, it's our collection, it's our realm. Our realm. Yeah. Look after me first. This is our nature. Yeah, our human nature. To go outside that nature, even if it's logically perfect to go outside that nature, is difficult for us because it's sort of inborn in us to take care of ourselves first.
And you even consider like math if you do that.
You are considered math. Yeah. Okay, so the Charvikas, I'm going to move on, say, well, multiple lifetimes, you guys are crazy. Not true. And they had, this might be question 2 on your quiz, therefore number 2 at the top. They have 3 ideas about the quality of mind. What is mind? And see if they look similar to you. They would say that mind is the quality of the body, meaning it's a physical thing, it's your brain, yeah? In the way that alcohol that a person being drunk is a quality of alcohol. Yeah, that's the example they use in the scripture. That mind is the quality of this thing that grew out of the sperm and egg. Once this developed, you have mind. That's one belief that the Charvakas had. And I think we're sharing that. We think mind is my brain. Yeah? If you chop the brain, there's no mind. So that's one. The next thing that they think is it's even if it wasn't number one, even if you refute that, then the mind's nature is dependent on the body. It rests upon the body. Like, I think the example they use is a frame on a wall. You took the wall down, frame falls, broken, no mind. Yeah? So it's because you have a body that you're able to have a mind. No body, no mind. The Charvakas thought this. We think this. Yeah, and I'll boil this down to you, but I want to give you, and there's much deeper scriptural debate on this in the reading.
How does the Buddha refute the second one?
We're coming to it. You're like, I hate this. And that the mind, if the above two weren't true, that the mind is then the result of the body, that once the body was formed enough, then you would have a mind. Say, okay, let's say that it wasn't like the second one. Let's say that mind wasn't there originally, and then if your body developed enough, then you would have a mind. It's similar to number 8. Is that okay? So that's what the Charvakas thought. It boils down to this idea. The idea is, and the proof for the Charvakas is, look, there's a corpse. It stopped moving. It's dead. Its mind stopped. The body stopped. Its mind stopped. That's really what it boils down to. The idea that because you don't see anything happening to the physical vehicle, therefore the consciousness, the awareness, is also stopped, which is a reasonable thing to think if you're a primitive human. Yeah, no, it's reasonable. It stopped. But it would be alike saying, there's a speeding car, it crashed into the wall, the car stopped, the driver's dead.
Or your brain stopped making electrical signals.
Your brain stopped making electrical signals, there is no consciousness left. Yeah? It's similar to saying that. So here is, before we go into the Buddhist answer, we got to go to Master Dignaga's, Master Chandrakirti's basis, Master Chandrakirti's basis for proving that these are incorrect. Okay, and the main basis is this idea of Nirlengi Q, principle or material cause. Material cause, Nirlengi Q. This is a very simple idea of causality that we all accept. Yeah, here's the essence. What?
Did you say Chandrakirti or Dharmakirti?
I said Dharmakirti.
It is Dharmakirti.
It is Dharmakirti. I said Chandrakirti. I apologize. Thank you. And undo that recording. See if you follow this. You have a tree. A tree is a result. It's a cause thing. It's a produced thing. Why? It's a changing thing. A changing thing is a produced thing. We've covered this in previous courses. The main thing that flopped over and turned into a tree is different from the things that supported that main flopping over into a tree. So all the things that made up a tree, let's list them together roughly, are seeds, warmth, soil, water, sunlight, nutrients in the soil. Yeah.
Space to grow.
Space to grow. Nice, weirdo. Yeah. No, that's a really cool idea. Yeah, lack of
Someone stopping it from growing.
yeah, well, she's getting way out there. Yeah, what do we call that? Lack of inhibitors. Yeah, okay. So there's all these things, right? Conditions. And so there is two things happening according to this system. There's the principal cause or the main cause, the main thing that flops over into the result. And then there's the conditions. And for the tree, what would be the Nierlengikyu, the principal cause, the principal material that flopped over into tree? Seed. Why seed and why not warmth? Yeah, so you could have just the right warmth, just the right water, just enough space, just enough everything, but without a seed, no tree. You could have a seed and a little less water and a little less that, and you would have a tree.
You could also have a cutting.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
We could prove that as a similar thing. Yeah, the cause of a tree could be, the principal cause is the material stuff that is woody and seedy, or whatever you call it. Good. Smart ass. No, but it's good. You have to think that way. But we get the idea, right? In that case, for that tree, the principal cause was the cutting and not the warmth and the moisture and so on. Yeah. We got that? That makes sense. Let's do it for ceramics. What made this cup? What's the principal cause of this cup?
Some kind of material.
Assuming it's clay, right? Clay. For everything else, the heat, the template, all that, additional. You might get a different cup or whatever, but without the clay, you ain't flopping over into a cup. And you can do that for everything. Everything has its principal cause, the main stuff that flops over into the result. It's got a similar essence. It's made of the same stuff. It's similar material. Let's go your body. How many cells in your body? Too many. Yeah? But the principal cause was those 2 cells we talked about before, when your mom and dad did stuff you really don't want to think about. All of 2 minutes. Yeah? No laughed. Like nobody's thinking about their parents having sex. Anyway, now you are. Uncomfortable pause. Uncomfortable silence. Yeah. So his premise, Master Dharmakirti's premise, is that the result must resemble the cause, yeah, in a way like the seed or the cutting resemble the tree, or the clay resemble the pot, or the sand resembles the glass, yeah, or the cells resemble the body.
What about the car?
What about the car?
Yeah. What's the?
We won't get there we'll get there in a second.
Oh.
All the things that I've just covered are external physical stuff. Your body, which are the car, yeah, in that example.
Okay.
Yeah, but the stuff of a mind, we'll get to in a second.
Okay,
the other thing is that the result must necessarily come sometime after the cause. You can't have the result before the cause. So first of all, we believe that too, right? You have cause, something happens, result. Similar, yeah? Principal cause. We all got that? We're good? That's the premise of Master Dharmakirti's argument. And so far, we've done it for physical stuff, tree, cup, etc. The aha is that it's the same for mind, for raw awareness and consciousness. And here is a list of everything. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
This is just to give you, this is not part of the course, this is just to give you a reminder of the division of all existing things. I think this is a brilliant way to look at reality. They start from the premise of there is everything. Yeah? Imagine all of the universe. Without anything missing, everything. You could divide everything into 2 parts, which are Takpa and Mitakpa, for those that are changing. You could say that in all of the universe, it's fair to say you could divide that in 2 and say there is stuff that is changing, and there is stuff, a tiny small amount of stuff, that is unchanging. Yeah? Cool? And then for the changing stuff, which is necessarily caused stuff, Yeah? Changing stuff is stuff that was produced. Changing stuff is stuff that was caused. Why? Because the words. The stuff that produced it was changing, therefore the result is changing. Why can't I find words to say that? So then we'll leave the unchanging for another time. Those three things. Everything else, which is 99.9 repeater, is mitaka, changing stuff. Stuff that we deal with all the time. Yeah? And that you can divide roughly into 2 categories. I'm not going to do 3 categories, sorry. Yeah? Which is what?
Physical and mental.
Physical and mental. Cool. So far, we've got a division of everything into changing and unchanging. Forget the unchanging. Difficult to talk about. It's difficult to see, so you have to use logic and reasoning. Emptiness is in there. Empty space is in there. Facts are in there. Yeah.
Karma.
Karma's changing. Yeah. Anyway, we won't get heady at the moment. We're just following an idea. We got the idea. You are currently holding in your minds, in this room, everything. And you currently are holding in your mind the division of everything into physical and mental as a part of changing things. I think that's awesome. When we go to the next level down, there's plenty of other divisions, but you can go to the physical stuff. You can call this living tissue, if you like. Yeah? The sense powers, the stuff, the cones and rods in the back of your eye, the cochlea, or whatever it's called, the thing that does the sound. Yeah? And then outside matter, other stuff. Yeah? The material stuff out there. That's physical matter. And then for mental, you could divide that into my mental continuum, which is everything that I'm experiencing, perceiving, enjoying, not enjoying, thinking, my awareness. And I think there's other awarenesses out there, other people's, other beings' awarenesses. Is that cool? So far, you've managed to hold the entire universe in your mind, and I think that's cool.
So our awareness and our consciousness is changing, right?
It sits in the changing section. Yes?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. We are changing things, right? Although we are made out of emptiness. In the ultimate level, we are emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, because we're empty, there's not the emptiness of a reincarnation. I mean, in emptiness, there's not a future. There's not a past. There's not an I.
So what's the question?
There's not an I.
Mm-hmm.
The question is that there's no future alive because there's not such a thing. If we think of emptiness, if we are emptiness, and if emptiness, because you said something, look, there's consciousness and there is mind. There's consciousness and mind. A different thing is the self, and I think that this is my big problem with reincarnation. I believe that the mind has always been, will always be, has always been.
Yep.
I abide by that.
Mm-hmm. Go.
But because of that, this idea of the self, of me, Caterina, reincarnating in 100 years in China or in Japan and attaining enlightenment is a contradiction. It's a big
contradiction. Why?
Because
you see, Caterina would not be having enlightenment. Caterina is dead when she dies here. But the mind and all the stuff you put in this consciousness, that will not stop, and she's not called you, she's called someone else. Some poor bastard called Joseph is going to inherit all your mental habits, and they don't know where it comes from.
But I would argue
mm-hmm.
that this is the continuum of consciousness that has always been, will always be, and therefore will be other things. So as my body, my minerals, we are breathing the breath of Jesus.
All 100%.
Right?
Yeah, but there is a difference. There's a difference of continuously changing like that and not changing, abiding in outside the cycle of change. And this is the big idea. The Buddha says you can be stuck in forever changing mind. No problem. Sometimes called Katarina, sometimes called Joseph, sometimes called puppy dog, and it's mind being mind, and that will be forever. But that condition changes. And when you thought you were happy, you are sad. And when you thought you were sad, you are happy.
I agree.
And that's correct. You're 100% correct. And you can stay in there for eternity. And you must go through the results of every causality. Or you could go to the unchanging side, a being that can create the causes to be outside those cycles of uncontrolled change and be continuous forever, but not in an uncontrolled changing state. And that's Buddhahood. That's enlightenment. That's outside the cycle. That's the Buddha out there.
So Buddhahood doesn't function?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
But functioning things are changing.
Wait, so the Buddha changing or unchanging?
The Buddha experiences a changing thing, but they abide in all of time, past, present, and future in the one moment.
It's unchanged.
No, it's you can't say he's unchanging.
Does
the mind of a Buddha perceive your mind?
Yes.
Is your mind changing or unchanging?
Yes.
Changing.
Therefore, does the minds of a Buddha experience changing or unchanging?
Changing.
Thank you. Okay, but they are. I'm going to leave it there. Let me. No. You got to think about it, and you got to process it.
Because you guys are getting confused. The Buddha isn't
Emptiness. Yeah.
Right. Also, emptiness is not a thing, it's a lack of.
Correct.
So you're
Yeah.
saying that we are emptiness, but that's not a true statement according to the definition of emptiness.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lack of something.
But I'm going to let you do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I'm
No,
going to,
I-
Katarina, I'm going to let you do that another time. Yeah.
Let's continue.
You have 6 years worth of course that understands, or you get access where you need to prove it to yourself. The problems that you're having, you need to prove it to yourself. I'll give you statements. I'll give you answers, but I can't turn your mind. You turn your mind through investigation, thinking, going, no, I don't think so. Good. But investigate it. Like really find out, is my position solid? Yeah? For all of us. Then you can use it. We're good here?
Yeah.
This is just a setup for Master Dharma Kirti's, not Chandra Kirti's, explanation of if that's true for all physical stuff, what about the non-physical stuff? Can we apply the same laws of causation, which were what? The cause comes before the result. The result is always bigger than the cause. Yeah? It's of a similar nature. Is that fair? Just like a seed and so on. So then it's the same for mind. So let's have a look. Did I go there? Let's see where this mind goes to. I can't remember what I've got in this slide. Causality, all existing things, and things of the mind. Let's have a look. 3 principal causes of mind. We eliminate 3 big ideas in the text. And the first thing we say is that mind cannot come from consciousness, awareness cannot come from physical stuff because it's different stuff. One of the rules of causality is it must be similar in type and have come before. You have to chew it. Yeah. So the first one is, remember the sense powers, physical living tissue? Like, I couldn't find an eye, but you got, yeah? One idea is that, is it the eye or the ear, the living cells in a body that produce mind? Is that what it is? Is it the living cells that produce mind? And the answer is, it can't be. Why? It's not the same stuff. It's not the same nature. Yeah? The rods and cones and rods in your eye are just sensory things, but they don't have raw awareness. It's not that thing. It can go black and white, the same with the ear, the same with the skin, but it's not consciousness. It's not ineffable. Yeah? Yeah? Ineffable. It's different stuff. You have physical stuff, non-physical stuff. Yeah? The second one is Could it be any outer physical stuff, not the stuff in the body, not the sense powers in the body that produces the mind? Could it be other stuff like chemicals or the other stuff outside the body that produces mind? Could it be putting together non-living tissue chemicals that come together? Is that what produces consciousness? And the answer, simplified in the text, would be because two things. Nobody's been able to put just the right petri dish full of chemicals and say, here is a consciousness. Yeah, so first of all, the proof is in the text is like, nobody's done it before. But secondly, again, it's made of different stuff. Physical produces physical. Mental, that's not mental, that's physical stuff. Yeah.
So, is that other physical stuff, does that include subtle energy and like chi? Yeah. What you call chi? Or other things?
No. Physical is like what's perceivable by the sense.
By the sense powers, yeah. I like that question. I don't know the answer in scripture, but I would dare say no. Like there is subtle physical stuff that we would talk about in secret practice, yeah, in subtle body practice in yoga. There is subtle stuff, but you can't say that that is the cause of the mind. And my answer for that, my reasoning for that is lung sem chupa chipa, that the mind and the winds are separate in that statement, like rider to a horse. So when the winds move, the mind moves. When the mind moves, the winds move.
I don't understand if I'm having a projection produced by my mind and I project something physical, how is that different?
This is not that school. We haven't gotten to Madhyamika Prasangika. This was the logic school we're discussing. This is all logic school. Okay. There is no projection here. Okay. Sorry.
So is there no chi here?
No. Okay. Yeah. But if they did discover that, it would be in the, I would say, in the outer physical stuff. Yeah.
With like all technology and artificial intelligence these days, it feels like they are producing consciousness.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because we had that discussion in the 90s when we had the beginning of artificial intelligence, which was just really good coding. Yeah. And our answer collectively, because we debated that with Geshe Michael, our answer was that the thing can get predictive, but it doesn't have consciousness. My personal perspective on that is that I don't see a problem with a mind inhabiting a machine. Yeah. You know, so I've got no problem with that. But
like all the ways they say you can be born.
To incarnate
in a.
Where would that fit in the way
there's
of being
something
born?
in scripture where like
yeah.
someone is like can be incarnated as like a stick.
Right. Or project. I would say. I'm not sure if it's reincarnated.
What is that?
Well, they experience, but they experience themselves as like a stick in some corner in some random reality. Just like a person. I forget what that was from, but
there's another one.
I can't remember what scripture it was, but there were a few different ones.
There's another one as a whole log.
Wait, a whole log? Not bumping the log from Shantideva? You're talking something else?
I don't know.
I want to get you all back on track.
This is so fun.
I know it's fun. Let me get the content out. You got to think through this stuff. Do you really think that your mind came from the cells in your ear, your nose, your tongue, the cells that are living tissue? Do you really think that consciousness came out of living tissue? You got to think through that. They say no. Do you really think that comes from anything other than that? Maybe a collection of other chemicals outside your living tissue. They say no, for the reasons of same produce same. Physical, non-physical, how did that flop over? Yeah, it could be a condition. You might need that as a condition. You might need that as a condition, but it can't be the Niralengi Q. It can't be the principal cause. Yeah, so then it must be some kind of mind moment that produced the mind moment. Does that make sense? And so they said, okay, cool. Could be your parents' minds, right? So both mum and dad lost a little bit of their mind, and that produced your mind. And if that were true, then the debate in the scripture is, then you must have qualities of your parents' minds, or they would have the capacity to read and know your mind in a way that is much more personal than the division we currently have between parents and children. Yeah, how many parents in the room, put up your hand? Yeah, and how much of you can you see in them telepathically, like really it's your mind over there?
You're in the same realm though.
Huh?
You're in the same realm.
Yeah, but we're in the same room too. You're not my mom.
I feel like moms have said that
In
they
this
have
life.
that experience.
In this life. What did you mean, Aaron?
I'm saying like just because like my kid feels pain doesn't mean that my nerves feel pain, but we still have the same DNA.
Physical stuff different to mental stuff. We've gone beyond the physical stuff.
It's an analogy.
Oh, okay. The arguments here are two. They don't lose a portion of their awareness to give to you. So all of a sudden they've forgotten certain parts of themselves, which have now become you. That's one method, one explanation. Secondly, they don't have the same qualities. Remember cause and effect, same core quality, near-language cues, same stuff flopped over into your mind. So if you're an artisan and you've got a kid who can't draw for shit, yeah? And you're like the best drawer, but they cannot do it. Or you're a musician and they can't do it. That's the analogy they use here to refute that, okay? So they're the three proofs that it can't be somebody else's mind and it can't be physical stuff. Because physical stuff naturally doesn't fit. But maybe mental stuff. So first you have to go, is it my mental stuff or other people's mental stuff? So they refute other people's mental stuff, which leaves you only with a previous moment of this mind, of my own mental stuff. Just like in this life, the stuff in your mind is of your mental stuff. Why would that stop at the point of death? All of a sudden you get a parent's mind entering you. Yeah, if it's continuous. So that's the core of that proof. More detail online. She's like, bullshit.
I just feel that I see it in a different, I mean, I understand. Okay, it's a long debate. I know.
We have 15 minutes. I like the capacity to debate it, but this isn't the room. Yeah, like we have to debate it. And for me, this took me not just one class. It took me 5 years, 6 years before I could even enter the possibility that this was real for me. For a while, for 5 years at least, I just sat there going, this is just a lot of crap that they're saying, and I'll get to the real stuff of I need to meditate so I can get happy. And seriously, for years. And so you should do the same. Otherwise, you're not true to yourself. You have to investigate it. I'm just telling you that through meditation, through reading, through logic, this to me makes more sense than it stops. Something that was continuous all along, all of a sudden stops because the body stops. No more answers to you.
I want to repeat you.
Yeah, I know, but it's not. So those of you who studied the Wheel of Life, put up your hand if you know. Okay, you have, in the Wheel of Life, one explanation, you have 3 lifetimes described here. And so the essence of the stuff that flops over from one life to another, in the idea that is being presented here, that it must come from a previous moment of your own mind. Yeah, the essence, the stuff that flops over from life to life, is this thing called desire, the 8th link of the Wheel of Life. Yeah, desire is depicted by a person drinking alcohol, and after that it becomes grasping, a monkey grabbing fruit and collecting it and putting it in its mouth, and that produces link number 10, which is the near-language cue for your mind flopping over into another life. But desire is the stuff that moves over to the next life, and it's a specific kind of desire, and I want to talk about these 3 types of desire, which are desire, did I do it or not? Craving desire, fear desire, and desire for me, for existence. Yeah, which is coming up there. Cool. So I just explained that. It's in essence, it's the two animals in there. It's like you have a desire to get away from stuff you fear, ignorant desire, and ignorant desire to go towards things you like. Cool. And then the last one is the desire of me. I exist. I am. I'm a thing. Yeah. This not wanting to let go.
Is it wrong to have craving there 3 times?
No. It should be desire, actually.
Desire.
Yeah, it should be desire. It shouldn't be craving. You're right. Thank you.
So it's craving, desire, clear desire, and desire for resistance.
Grasping onto desire. I wanted to use a word that wasn't craving because craving is link 9, but it's like having desire, having fear, and having me and mine. Yeah, like wanting it. Imagine that when. Who's ever had an identity crisis where people are not treating you the way you think you should be treated?
Is that an identity crisis?
Right? No, but I mean, really, you're in the moment and you're like, you don't see me for who I am.
Every time I go home.
Every time you go home to your parents, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not that person. Yeah? And yet you're treating me like that person. And so you struggle, your identity, your self, your me, is struggling with reality out there. All those people, they think you're Stephen from being a child. I struggle with that when I go back. I'm 50. I go back home and they treat me like Marcelito. I'm like, don't talk to me that way. This me comes up, yeah? And this is just living and going on holidays to your parents. Imagine when you're dying. Imagine when you are decomposing. When you begin the process of unable to lift your arm, you no longer control that arm. Imagine the fear that grips you. Imagine the holding onto me. Imagine that. Imagine on your deathbed, you are now unable to be that person that you thought you were to the people around you, and your parents start coming over and treating you in the deathbed the way that they see you, not the way you see you. Yeah? And your friends and your family and your strangers and the doctors, and you're like, I am not that person. I am this. Yeah? And we hold on to that, and that holding on to, that thing in your mind is that wanting to be, that is what flops over into the next thing and is a person. Yeah, and I'll get them in more details in a second. Like this. Huh?
You went backwards.
No, I did it forward because I want to cover this again, but we don't have time. Yeah? Life after life after life after life. Is that working or is it not working? Oh, this is the formal proof. Sorry, I jumped ahead. The formal proof of Master Dharma Kirti. For those of you who have done the logic course, this is called a logical proof, a syllogism. Yeah, thank you. Which is consider blah, it is that because of that, right? So you have the subject, the assertion, and the reason. So you will be asking question 9 or something to what is Dharma Kirti's proof or logical syllogism, which is debated in the text, and you can go in there and look at your debate. Yeah. So he says, consider the mind of a normal person at the moment of death. That mind crosses over, flops over, nirlangikyus over the line into a future moment of that mind, because that mind possesses desire.
Can I say something?
You can.
Yeah.
You're so annoying.
Yeah, the mind crosses because the mind has always been, but the self, this idea of a Caterine,
That's finished.
That's finished
Yep.
forever.
Yep.
So
No, you can't. You could refute that. I could say not forever, because if you've got all of infinity, there could be another Caterina later. Sorry.
I mean, are we not impermanent? Are we not changing? Is not the nature of myself different from yesterday or for like 10 years ago?
You are, yeah. So you died yesterday and now you're this. But you do have an identity. We give you a name, and you hold on to that identity for this period. And that didn't come from nowhere. That was caused, and that was caused because you thought yourself a certain way, and now you behave yourself a certain way based on that cause. And that will not stop. That will not stop, and you will be under the torrents of that, the good and the bad, for time without beginning, because you got no control of what produced this. If you did, we'd all be happy all the time. We'd all be in peace all the time. We'd be abundant all the time. We'd be not dying all the time if we knew what caused it. And we don't know what caused it. And that's the difference between being in the wheel and outside the wheel. The mind will not stop. But the quality of mind of being a suffering, changing thing, or being a free, changing thing, that is also produced just like this is produced. It's caused, but it needs a similar causality to its result. Sorry.
But yeah.
Not going there. Finished.
No, I
finished.
I
Finished.
get it.
Finished. Here are the self. Here's your self. Yeah. Focus on the self, which triggers karma in rebirth. There are 4 types. Question 11. And it's focusing me. This is, I think, the first one you talk about. Focusing me in a general way, like I'm Katarina, I'm just walking around, an unexamined state of being. This isn't the stuff that causes rebirth. That isn't the stuff that causes the karma, the seeds to perceive yourself as another being, okay? It's the grasping to a self-existent me, and now we're getting closer to Madhyamika, that produces a karma that must give you another life.
Is it just dying? Like, just the karma that you produce by dying?
No, it's you've collected that karma throughout your life, thinking I am Rachel. You've just put another layer. Rachel is not someone that gets talked to this way. Rachel is not somebody that does this. Rachel is the person that does the Instagram. Rachel is this person that gets angry. Rachel, every minute of the day, Rachel's getting another thing, and then when that's about to be taken away at the moment of death, or getting close to the moment of death, we are putting our claws into that Rachel, which we've built an entire life, and we don't want to let go of that bitch. We don't. We don't, because we built it for a whole lifetime, and that is who I am. And from an investigative point of view, from a Madhyamika Prasangika point of view, yeah? From that point of view, that person never existed in that way. That is your projection. Yeah, and the death is your projection, and the Katarina is your projection, and absolutely. But we're not in that school, we're in the logic school. Yeah? From that point of view, you will project, and this is...
We're in the logic school?
We're in the logic school. Okay. Yeah. But now I've just jumped into the Madhyamika school to give you all some respite, to say, oh, I'm holding on to something. Yeah? The Rachel, she just projected throughout. I'm going Madhyamika now, okay? Rachel, she's projected her entire life in response to you, and in response to you, in response to her parents. That one, that is the second type here, the self-existent one. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of me being this way from my own side, not through my projection. Yeah. That one really exists. The Rachel that is the Instagrammer, that really exists. That's the real Rachel. Yeah. Thinking that projection is real and solid and self-existent, that built over time is the stuff we'll grab onto when we are about to lose our identity through death.
I'm just trying to figure out the difference between A and B. Like, I was wondering, the reason why I brought up what I brought up was, like, is it the extreme emotion of the grasping that produces the experience that triggers the karma for reincarnation, rather than just the general, like, I'm this floating head in space.
Say that again.
Like, the experiences that are emotionally charged, like, you're hurting me, it's really...
Yeah. So death is coming, hold on. Yeah, as opposed to the just regular coming on. Yeah. To be honest, I don't remember exactly why the difference between A and B is.
It sounds to me like A would be like more the conscious.
It's about being, saying I in my mind, as opposed to an unexamined walking around being a Rachel.
Like the impulses you have, the uncontrived and unwanted impulses you have, I think would be the B. And then the A would be like actually thinking, oh, I'm this way or I'm that way. Or I like
it's the other way around. I would say it's, yeah, would you agree? It's the other way around. Yeah. It's they're walking around without thinking too much, just behaving the way I do.
So the first one, A, in a general way, would be the knowing that I am this way, me actually knowing it.
No, the first one is you walking on the street, being an anonymous guy called Hannibal, and you're not thinking too much about me. You're just walking down the street. Okay. The second one is having some kind of, I am the important Hannibal walking down the street. Get out of my way. I am this way, myself.
So it's like worldview and worldview.
Worldview and worldview. I haven't heard that.
I like how you bring it into text.
It's also maybe like
it's really good.
Well, one is the first one is like
one that
acting in a way of
it's just an unexamined view of the world that doesn't do anything. Like, yes, an unexamined view of the world, this is a wall, it doesn't have a problem. But if you really think about it and you start thinking this exists out there as a separate thing to me, that has karma in it. Yeah, that has, just walking past the wall doesn't do anything. But when you put your mind on it, you're like, that's a wall out there, separate from my mind. That has self-existence. That produces a karma with the self-existence in it.
The first one, we still act in a way as if it's self-existent, but we're not.
But it's not examined.
It's not, yeah.
Cool. I think that's okay to say that. Yeah. The third one is for a specific group of people. See if you know who I'm talking about. But not believing it.
Yeah.
That's someone who's seen.
That's someone who's seen emptiness directly. Someone who's had an experience of ultimate reality, and then are in the path of habituation, learning how to interpret that in their everyday. They've had a glimpse at totality through the direct perception of emptiness. Then they're back here going, oh, that's right, I still got the habits of seeing the world as existing out there. A person in that state, they also create the karma for future lives.
Magician?
What? Yeah. Well, was it the magician? Yeah, it was the magician. Yeah. Why? Why do they create the existence of future lives?
They're still forced to perceive themselves.
Forced to perceive themselves. Correct. Yeah, because even though they don't believe it, they still have the seeds of the karma to produce that future one. And the last one is neither seeing yourself as self-existent, nor believing it, or believing it does not create the karma. So this is now somebody, an enlightened being, a being in nirvana, a being who doesn't have the essence of desire of something to be taken away. Yeah, I know it's a projection. I know it doesn't exist out there. I know it's dependent on my mind. Yeah.
This person will not reincarnate anymore.
Correct. This person, which is who?
Those that don't perceive themselves as self-existent, all believing that they are.
And who are those people in the 5 paths?
Arya.
Yeah, at the path of no more learning.
No more learning.
After the path of habituation. Path of third path and 4th path. Yeah?
I could have said Arhat though and then right.
You could have said Arhat and been right. Okay.
So if the mind doesn't flip over to another
life, so they are enlightened outside the cycle. They have perfected their mind. They will have a changing mind, but it's no longer under the forces of samsara. Yeah? Does that answer your question?
That makes
sense. If B is the only one that triggers being born as a human, then how does C get born as a human?
No, A through C can all trigger that.
So no, it says
B and C trigger a future life. Yeah? Are the karmas that trigger a future life. Got it? Yeah? But D does not trigger. Why? There's no ignorance anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah? They are abiding in truth, in an ultimate state. And they've removed the mental obstacles to omniscience, or remove their mental afflictions and reach nirvana. Yeah, so that's it. There's no more reincarnation for them.
For them, nirvana is in this lifetime.
Well, it depends where they are. Yeah, for them, if that was now, would be right here forever in the way that they perceive the world. Being, unless they are in nirvana with one life remaining. Okay.
But it doesn't trigger because it's
No ignorance there either.
Say that again?
So it says here that A doesn't trigger. Is that because it always happens in the same lifetime as B, and B is the cause, and A is not the cause, it just happens in the same lifetime?
I would say that it's the same as B, but it's an
But there's no ignorance in A. That's the difference. There's no believing yourself existent.
But it's also like a.
It sounds like a neutral karma.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It's like.
kind of an innocence. I think it's just recognizing that you are you.
I think it's saying that there is something there, yeah, the identity that you hold, but not thinking of that in detail, not investigating it, is accepting that this is an arising, yeah, and that just accepting that this is an arising it doesn't produce a karma of grasping.
Like an infant dying or something.
It's like if you enter in the club and you know that it's a club and it's dancing people around and
Yeah.
the music is being, but then when you dance.
I see. You're in the dance. I like it.
Certain ways you dance the mambo in certain ways, and that is going to change. Yeah, you surround it. Like the club doesn't change because you dance mambo in certain way.
I do. I like it.
Yeah.
You're in the experience. You're having thoughts and sensations about that experience, and if that has ignorance, and ignorance here means you think things exist separate from your experience of them. That's ignorance. Ignorance is thinking that the world is the way it is, separate from me. It is just that way. Because if we think it's just that way, we're going to act towards it in the way we believe it to be, and that isn't the way it is. That mistake, we took it wrong, creates a mistaken result, which is a result that must come into fruition and break. Fruition and break, they don't have that problem anymore. Anyone that has ignorance or self-existence will grasp onto that self-existence because it's out there and you believe it to be true. Remember the two partners problem? Yeah? An ignorant person, meaning not a dumb person, a person that is living in ignorance. Number 2, B. Yeah? I'll do this again so we actually finish on something familiar and, and something meaningful. The essence of these ideas are the Buddhist teachings on emptiness, and we've got to know what that means, and the Buddhist teachings on karma, causality, cause and effect. And when they come together, they produce your reality. Does that make sense? Yeah, so let's play with that to see B, number B, and why that would produce another broken experience, and how D would not create a broken experience. Is that okay? We'll do that. So I'm a dad, and I wake up one day and I told the kids the night before that tomorrow we have to leave at 7 o'clock because we have to get to school on time so we can do the gym and do all the blah, blah we have to do, right? So the kids know to have their shoes ready, to have blah, blah. It is now 6:45 and I give them a yell and say, come on kids, it's 15 minutes, finish your breakfast. And I've got one little stupid, tired kid who's always dragging their ass. But I've prepared, I've done everything right. Yeah? It's now 5 minutes to, and they can't put their shoes on properly. It's now 2 minutes to, and they're still dragging their ass. And I can't contain myself, so I yell at them. You stupid little piece, I wish I'd never had you. Or some stupid thing that you say out of the heat of the moment because you are frustrated because you did everything right, but things are going wrong. Yeah? in this system, me yelling at the kid, saying, "You stupid kid, I wish I'd never had you," has a ripple effect in the world. Yes or no? Yeah. The kid, if he thinks you're an ass of a dad, would probably go, "Ha ha, you do that every day, I'm fine." If they were a sensitive kid, they go, "Oh, you hurt me so much. Again, I'll be traumatized until I'm 50. Yeah, seriously. Like the kid could interpret it any different kind of way. How do I know that? There's 4 of us in our family. My mum and dad have said that to us plenty of times. Some of us laughed it off. Some of us are still clinically depressed. Yeah, seriously. The kids will receive that ripple effect in some way. But you, who also heard it, and your mind, which has the awareness of what you really meant. I had a picture of strangling the little shit. Yeah? And I wish it was 6 o'clock so I could take that glass of wine and make it all go away. Yeah? And I'm just going to dump it at school and wish I didn't see it all day. I knew that's what I had in me when I said those words. That effect is going in which mind? Mine. So my mind just got an imprint, yeah, and that is here. Cause and effect, cause and effect. That must produce a result. Karma just planted in my mind stream, and it's in there. And I'm unaware of it because I'm angry. I'm driving the little shit to school, and I'm going to drop it off, and I'm never even going to stop the car. I'm still angry. We got it? All that time, that karma, that mental imprint is in me. The day got better in the afternoon because I got the glass of wine. But where is that imprint? It's still in me. What happens to seeds when you put them in the ground? What happens to potent seeds when you put them in the ground? Really violent, strong seeds. They will produce a result. Yeah? So now, it's 3 weeks later, or a month later, or bloody sometime later. I don't know. Yeah? Sometime later. And I had a perfect month because we did all the right things. We moved the 3 jewels to the new location. We finished the renovation. Everything is good. Yeah? I'm having a great day. The kids have been really nice the last few weeks. I'm in a good space. I come home with all my good feelings, yeah, and I walk in, and my partner, we've had kids now, Stephen and I have these really terrible kids, yeah, they're gay kids, yeah. Stephen, for no reason at all, for absolutely no reason at all, starts at me as soon as I open the door. From a really good day, he starts yelling at me. Starts off by going, "You know, you didn't take out the garbage yesterday." I'm like, "I know." "But you know, the dishes are still out there." "I know." "Why didn't you make the bed?" "I know." And then he just lets loose. "I can't believe, blah, 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 blah." And I'm walking in there going, I've had a perfectly good day. I've had a really good week. Yeah? And why is all this negativity coming my way? Why are you saying you wish you weren't with me? We say that there are 2 Stephens in the room at that point. The real Stephen and the never existed Stephen. The one that was produced by ignorance, misunderstanding, which is the one that's pissing me off, and the one that was caused by something that is relational to me, the real Stephen, which is still pissing me off. Yeah? So let's go to the first Stephen, the B Stephen. That I did nothing that day to deserve that Stephen. Yeah? A Stephen that could be out there, separate from Hector, causing Hector's mind to be completely disturbed by his words. That is an impossible Stephen. There is never a Stephen who could say words, a sequence of sounds up and down, and necessarily cause that feeling in me. Where did that feeling come from?
Yelling at the kids.
Me yelling at the kids has ripened into our experience projected on an otherwise empty Stephen. We say Stephen is empty of having the quality of pissing me off. Stephen's words are empty of having the quality that when put together, they must necessarily piss everyone off. If he says 6 words together, everybody that hears those words are instantly pissed off. That doesn't exist, never existed, could never exist. There is no sequence of sounds that could come out of Stephen's mouth that must necessarily cause that feeling in me.
Can't all hear him. Not everyone can hear.
No, but if we could, everybody, I know that you get pissed off with Stephen. Thank you. Still, some people really like tweets that are offensive to other people. We know that nowadays. So we say there are 2 Stephens. Stephen is blank. Stephen is an empty screen that Hector's mind projects whatever was in Hector's mind. And what did I put there 3 months ago or 3 weeks ago? Yelling, screaming, rejection. And what am I feeling now from Stephen? Yelling, screaming, rejection. My mind experienced those words, relational to me, forced, not by choice, based on what I did to others in the past. That Stephen exists. That is true. That is the only Stephen that exists out there. If I want more, you got to get this. If I want more Stephens yelling at me in the future, what do I do at that point? Yell at him. Go, you stupid partner. You have the kids. You wash the stupid dishes. Blah, blah, blah. And anger and hatred poured onto what I thought is that Stephen that existed out there. And that gets planted in me. And then 3 months later, I go and experience something else. And I think it's out there, so I yell at it. And that is B. Believing that there is some quality out there, self-existent, separate from me, that is ignorance, and that never stops. That is the cycle that never stops. Now, if I want to break the cycle, if I want to get here, what do I do when I experience Stephen yelling at me and recognize with wisdom that there must be something in my mind that interprets that as all the pain I'm feeling? What do I do at that point? If I want to stop.
Do not react in anger.
She said go for refuge. What did you say?
Do not react with anger.
So first you'd go for refuge, which means understand the wisdom of the situation. If everybody could hear Stephen, would everybody be equally as offended as me? And the answer is no, because the kids would be giggling right now. Yeah? But the fact that I am offended means there's something in me. He is empty, and I projected that. That's wisdom, that's refuge. So now that I understand that wisdom, on the understanding the true nature of the situation, then I plant a karma, which is not yelling. And that breaks the cycle. And that means I can't have a result from that. In fact, I can, but it won't be a negative result. It will be a result of breaking the cycle of samsara. And that is the only practice, and that is the only way you can stop the cycles of life and rebirth. We just did a mini cycle there. How do I stop people from yelling at me? Stop yelling at people. Yes, but they yelled first. Shut up.
Is it enough to stop yelling, or isn't the point of like the earlier slides about compassion that like it's not enough to not just yell, but we must actually flip it over.
Nice.
And we must actually love them in that moment and express that love.
But we can't do that. Remember?
Yeah.
Those 3 compassions, they're so hard. Ultimately, you will get there. But the argument with the Charvikas is that will take you forever. So what we do as human beings is first stop the negative cycles. Understand where you are. Stop the negative cycles. Secondly, do some extraordinary act of wisdom that says, I understand the cycle, and if you can, flip it over to a positive action. Plant the opposite karma. And thirdly, if you want to be a bodhisattva, if you want to have bodhicitta in you, is build great compassion in that opportunity. So in that same moment of not yelling at Stephen, I think by this act, may my mind understand that I'm doing it so nobody ever in the future would be yelled at. I'm stopping it, not just for me not being hurt, but for me to understand, and nobody ever on the planet to ever be yelled at or feel ignorant yelling. And that is the same action, you just went a little wider. But honestly, unless you've practiced this for a decade, or you're an extraordinary being, I don't think that's a natural tendency for people.
Well, definitely not, but it's no more or less natural, or is it any more or less natural than not responding, right? Like, take a deep breath, or like, let me go outside or something.
It depends where we begin on the spectrum, right? So for me, this was my first teaching. My first teaching was getting rid of the yelling boss.
Okay.
And it took me 3 months. It took me 3 months, and the first month was me yelling and going home thinking, I wish I hadn't yelled. And then the middle month was me half yelling and sounding like a schizophrenic. Like seriously, I would literally yell at Gary, going, no, you're out. And he would go, come on, what do you mean? What were you going to say? And I'd had to bite, and so I had it here. And then the third month, it was here. And then I saw the projection, and nothing from that, nothing since that day could shape that experience. Nothing. But it took me 3 months. There's nothing that can shape that, because you know, you've seen it. And you only need to see it once. And then you disarm samsara. And if it takes 6 lifetimes, I'll do it. And if it takes 20, I'll do it too. Yeah. So with that, in practice, just be the best you can. It's a hard class. It's hard concepts because it goes against our cultural inculcation. We believe the world to be a certain way just because someone told you at school.
I just feel that sometimes some of us are conditioned to take the blame.
Yeah.
Which people will readily put on you. So, I mean, some people might have the experience where, you're right. You know, it was me. I mean, I'm not yelling, but I must be doing something. My breathing must be the agitation and. So I don't know. I struggle with this.
Thank you for saying that. I have to caution people not to use these teachings as an excuse to continue an old habit that also causes us harm. Okay? So that's what I just heard. I am one of those persons. Absolutely, it was me. I am so sorry. I'll take the blame for everything. That is not this teaching. That, if it causes you harm, is more mental imprints that will cause you more harm. So it's not that. And so maybe for some of us, the habit is to understand it logically and to act in reverse, to say, no, I've got to stop you from being a bitch to everyone else. So I'm going to call you out on it. With compassion, with wisdom, that you don't do this to everyone else. It's a fine line.
You know where I found the origin of these thoughts, where I was beating myself up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it was my own inward, like I took it inward, and it's like beating myself up inside, and then
it's not the point.
Manifests out there.
Yeah. So we have to be extremely careful. Thank you for bringing that up. We have to be extremely careful to ride this fine line between beating myself up and having excuses for feeling like crap all the time, because that's my habit, and beating everyone else because I feel like crap, that's my habit. It's somewhere in between, and I don't know it for you individually. You got to know it. If you have the tendency to be the victim, you have to change it. If you have the tendency to be the aggressor, you have to change it. It's neither, because if an action causes harm to you or others, it causes harm, and you don't want harm. So hence Emily's word on refuge. Understanding refuge, and at the bare minimum, shutting up, like being a bump on the log, at the bare minimum, yeah, then that's a good place to start. And if you can, like, Alan was saying, move it to compassion, fine, move it to compassion. If it means moving it to action and saying, no, I won't stand for that, but with the right state of mind, not blaming you, but saying, no, I don't want this to hurt other people on the planet. I'm going to stand up for you, for everyone, and go, no, that's not right, what you said just there. Then that's a different thing. You're saving, yeah? Fine line, fine line. So let's say goodbye to each other in a traditional sense. Thank you for doing a hard class, and thank you for the debate. I didn't like it. So here, whatever essence we moved our mind, which we did, we moved our mind somewhat. First of all, you went to the entire universe, you divided into many subsections in your mind. And then you have now a seed in your mind about possibilities. Those possibilities that could break open samsara, give them away, okay?
Sashi
Pugi Jishin Netotram Rira Lingshin Yinde Yampati Sange Shindu Mite Vargi Drokun Namda Shinla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandalakam Niryatayami
Kewa
Divyokun Sunam Yeshe Sokzokshin Sunam Yeshe Junwe Dampa Sunito Parsho. Thank you so much for putting up with this in your minds and trying to break open reality. A couple of announcements. Today, I called the landlord for this place and gave our formal notice. We will no longer be in this space as of the 31st of December. It actually felt extremely scary because we just came back. Aaron was at the new space. You were at the new space, Maggie. And it's nowhere near finished, okay? And we have 3 weeks and Christmas and New Year's between now and then. So we need volunteers like there's no tomorrow. We need volunteers this weekend to help put down the floor. Some of them are sorting timbers, some of them are laying timbers. All of them will be under the expert hand management of Aaron over there. So before you go, if you've got Saturday or Sunday and you want to lay down the foundation for the future meditators of the 3 jewels, this weekend is when we need it, not next weekend, not another. We need it this weekend. So we still need some volunteers. Please see Aaron. Yeah. Secondly, we are going to need as much help as possible to pack all this stuff and put it somewhere, sometime between now and December 31st. And we can't move in there until we finish the floors. We paint the walls. We do all this stuff, put the equipment.
I'm just going to say it's probably going to be the week between Christmas and New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So.
Weekend between Christmas and New Year's Eve.
The week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thirdly, the place runs mostly by donations. I'll be as honest as I can be. If you had asked me where the 3 Jewels was going 3 weeks ago, I would have had to tell you that we were going to close it down the day we opened it, because the renovations cost so much more than we anticipated. And it bothered my mind in a way that I can't describe. And then through some serious practice and a lot of begging, we got a hand from some friends who sent us $100,000 to make sure we don't close down the 3 Jewels after 21 years in the city. And through your kindness and Giving Tuesday and the 30-day meditation challenge, we also raised some more funds to help the 3 Jewels manage this transition between being here at cheap rent and moving to a storefront that's going to cost way more than we've ever anticipated. We've done the projections, and it's possible for us to thrive there, not just survive there, but to thrive there. But we need enough cash to manage the first year or two of funding, which will come from the cafe once it's working. I don't know how long it'll take to turn it on financially. The yoga classes are profitable. The retreats we do in Nicaragua, the teacher trainings, they're creating some profit. We're beginning to do corporate work with organizations. We have 3 meetings coming up where we will deliver workshops for corporates that will be profitable for us. But we need all the help we can get to keep this thing going enough for it to be self-sufficient, which it will be. Yeah. So I'm asking, if you haven't been part of the 30-day challenge, get ready to either be part of it or share, promote, link. We'll take jobs, whatever it takes. I want to keep this place going for another 21 years with you together. I am no longer worried like I was 3 weeks ago. We have enough money in the bank to finish the renovations and to run for the first few months until we get some income. Yeah. And then I want to create enough inertia in the fundraising campaign towards the end of the year and then at the beginning of the year for us to be okay for the next year or so, until I see the cafe giving profit, until I see the other stuff giving profit. So 3 ways you can help the 3 jewels. Donate your time and energy with Aaron this weekend, or with Stephen and the rest of us packing up this place and moving it. And there'll be other opportunities for the space. Secondly, fundraise. Help us fundraise. Be part of the 30-day challenge. Talk to Sarah, and if not the 30-day challenge, any other fundraising opportunity. And if you've got any work opportunities, we could do corporate works or whatever. Anything to keep this alive. Yeah. So anything else? Workshops coming up? No?
Yeah.
So we have an awesome opportunity to thrive at the new location, which is going to be incredible, but it's tight. We have 3 weeks to change what we saw that's a mess into a living, working, functioning space. But regardless, it was scary today to call the landlord and say, we're out by the 31st of December? And he said, okay, bye. Okay, thank you. That's the most I've asked and the most heartfelt I can be with you and real about the 3 jewels. Yeah?
Which means we're opening January 1st with the new space.
January 1st at the new space, correct. To the public,
As opposed to?
For us, if the place is finished the last week and we're moving stuff over there, we can use the space.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we will use the space, test out the coffee machine and do a few photo shoots in the new space, etc. Yeah. Anyway, if anybody knows an artist that can do murals, let us know, because we need a couple of opportunities. Yeah. Can we talk? Okay, great. Ladies and gentlemen, dismissed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oma home.